What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Second Chance Overland. I am Mike, and it is another shop day for me. And this time, I've got the big dog, the 392, in the shop for some more modifications. We've had this thing for about a year and a half now, and we absolutely love this thing. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you've seen some of the modifications that we've done. Since then, we've been taking our time trying to figure out what additional modifications we want to do to this thing, and we've come up with a few. So today I'm going to get started on some of those modifications. I've got a shelf full of parts, so there are going to be multiple videos of different modifications and upgrades to the 392 coming soon. So enjoy the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all the modifications to the 392 and all the other projects. So let's get started by installing the American Adventure Lab overhead MOLLE panel. All right, so I got my hardware, my parts, and my tools laid out. The instructions do say that you will need a T25 torque socket, a T40 torque socket, a 5mm Allen socket, and a 4mm Allen socket, a 10 and 13mm wrench, ratchets, and a flathead screwdriver. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our two halves of the main panel, and there is one lip that is taller than the other, and then you'll also see there is this little notch on either one, so these will line up. The taller lip will go towards the front of the vehicle, so we'll line these up. And we're going to take this long bracket and we're going to mount it using the provided hardware to the front. So it's 8 bolts and 8 nuts. This is where you'll need the 4mm Allen socket and the 10mm wrench. So we'll go ahead and start putting these through the holes. Now we did choose to have our panel powder coated textured black. American Adventure Lab does offer you the ability to get it in a multitude of different finishes. All right, so there's 6 bolts that go in this front panel to match those up. So then we've got this little center brace, and that's going to go in here. So for that, now I do recommend leaving this somewhat loose to allow for any variances in the vehicle. So I'm just going to tighten these up just a little bit, but leave it loose so that there's some movement. Okay, so everything is still loose. Now we're going to take our center brace and then the smaller of the two braces here. So that will go in like so. Start putting our hardware in. Okay, so next we're going to take our side mounting brackets. And that's going to mount on here like that. So put the bolts up from the bottom. Slide this over and do the other side. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and tighten up all the bolts with the exception of the side wings. That's where there's going to be some movement to allow for some play with the way the vehicle is manufactured with the roll cage and everything. There will be some variation there, so that will allow for some movement to be able to compensate for that. So we'll go ahead and tighten all these other ones up. All right, so we got the panel all assembled, pre-assembled, ready to go in the vehicle. So the next thing we need to do is actually get in the Jeep and tear a couple things apart for where the back end actually mounts up to the Jeep itself. All right, so for this next step, we've got the freedom panels removed, and back here where the dome lights are, you got this plastic panel here. There are 3 T25 screws that will need to be removed, and then pull this panel down. What we're trying to get to is these freedom panel latch brackets. They're held on by 2 Torx bolts as well, so we need to drop this plastic panel down to access those. So we're gonna go ahead and get that going now. All right, so with the 3 bolts out, we're able to just pop the panel down. We don't need to take it out completely. All we're trying to do is get to these Torx bolts. We're going to go ahead and pull those out. The brackets and the bolts will be reused, but that's where the back of the MOLLE panel attaches to the Jeep. Okay, so now we've got the brackets off. We can go ahead and start the install of the actual MOLLE panel. So it is going to sit on top with those wing brackets on top of the roll cage, and where these 2 large holes are, that's where it's going to bolt through with all the with all the supplied hardware, and then attach at the back with the bolts and brackets for the freedom panel. So just got to set the panel in and start running the bolts through, and this is going to wrap up pretty quick. All right, so we got the bolts coming in on there. So now we need to make our connection back here. Go in between the roll cage and the bracket. So we'll get those put in place and we'll start getting everything tightened up. Okay, so the panel is in. Got everything bolted back up, bolted up here at the top. That's pretty nice. So we just gotta put the plastic panel back on. I'm gonna wipe that down here real quick before I do that. I'm also going to reinstall the freedom panels just to make sure that I have these brackets set properly. I don't want to put all this back together and then find out that they're offset, you know, angled or too high, too low, so that the freedom panels don't seat properly. So I am going to temporarily reinstall the freedom panels before I button this all back up and just verify those things, and then we'll get that wiped down and put back together, and this install will be complete. All right, so I got the freedom panels back on. Everything seems nice and tight. So I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna pull the freedom panels back off. We'll get this reinstalled and finish this one up. All right, so here it is, the American Adventure Lab overhead MOLLE panel. Super excited about this. It's gonna be really nice to be able to attach our accessories to this and not worry about things. So yeah, I think this is gonna be pretty nice. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And I will see you next time on Second Chance Overland.